this is Deb Alps, debalps.com. So is there age discrimination in America? And I'd like to get some feedback on this, what you think and your experiences. So like and share, number one. And number two, go ahead and give me some feedback on your experiences. But anyway, so is there age discrimination in America? Well, let's talk about this for a minute. One of the things, I've actually talked to several people. My ex-boss said that he had been trying to get a job for about 2 years. He was a former CFO. He had worked for a company for 20 years, obviously was making a lot of money at that point, but he was let go. And, you know, obviously when you get to a point where you're making a lot of money, you're kind of on the path to being let go anyway, because they can hire somebody younger that can fill your spot. Anyway, he was let go. And he told me, he said that they wouldn't even interview him. He was like somewhere in his 60s, and he said they wouldn't even interview him for a less qualified job. And he was so highly qualified. I mean, obviously, having been a controller, CFO for 20 years, you're fairly highly qualified. But he said he couldn't even get a beginning level accounting job. You know, being over 65, he says, you know, about the only thing that was open to him was to be a greeter at Walmart. Had the same experience with another person I worked with, which was also a CFO and struggling to get a job position. Again, a little bit, maybe in his 60s and struggling to get a job. So I've heard this from a lot of people. I've experienced it myself as well. Forbes has an article right here. I'll read what happened to this one lady. And she said, hang on just a second. It's coming. It's coming. Come on, you stupid thing. I had it up. Well, basically, anyway, what she said was that she was talking to a recruiter, and they had a job interview lined up for her, and then they canceled it. And she was like, well, why did they cancel it? And the guy told her, he said, well, once they looked at your profile on LinkedIn, they thought you were a little long in the tooth. So, yes, there's age discrimination. Another thing that most people don't know about is your health insurance. A lot of you guys you think, well, I got Blue Cross Blue Shield. Well, Blue Cross Blue Shield is just an administrator. They are not your health insurance. So typically most companies, especially large companies, they self-pay their health insurance. In other words, the company, if you have a $250,000 operation, the company pays out of pocket $250,000 for you. So a company or another company does not provide the health insurance. So think about this for a minute. And I actually had another friend that went through this. He had a job, and he had a liver transplant, and he'd had several patents with the company. He was an engineer, and he had a liver transplant, and all of a sudden, the company laid him off and let him go. Why was that? Well, he cost them more than he was worth. And even though he was sick, he cost them more than he was worth. And this stuff is going on all the time. It typically is. So how do you protect yourself? What do you do? Well, here's Robert Kiyosaki's 4 quadrants of success, and I'm a huge fan. You can get some of his books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Cash Flow Quadrant, things like that. I'd highly recommend them. But anyway, he talks about an employee. Okay, they're trading time for money. You've got a self-employed person, that's your doctors, your lawyers, your people, personal service people, hairdressers that are working. People are coming to them for their personal service, so they only come to them for the service. Well, with this one, they're working for time for money as well, but they work longer and harder. The only way that you can protect yourself from age discrimination and a lot of those things is to have a leveraged form of income. And that's the other side of the quadrant here that Robert Kiyosaki talks about. He talks about the business owner side, and he talks about the investor side. A lot of people know about the investor side. That is the side where you have rental income and cash flow from assets that you have. But a lot of people, most people can't get to this side unless they go through this side first. And both sides are leveraged forms of income. Leverage meaning you're making money whether you work or not. So my recommendation, if you're getting a little bit older and you don't want your kids to, you want to build a legacy. Number one, you don't want your kids to be taking care of you. Oh, heaven forbid. I mean, you know, as parents, don't we have the moral obligation to leave our kids in better shape when we go than worse shape? You know, if they got to take care of you, isn't that a burden? Do y'all want that? You know, I didn't want that, you know, but maybe you do. So anyway, if you want to know more about this side of the quadrant here and how you can build leverage for yourself, go ahead and go over to debapps.com, get my free gifts as well, and you know, go ahead and contact me. I've got my information over there. So anyway, hope you got value from this, and we'll see you in the next video.